original music podcast.
Those squinting eyes, they seem to hypnotize as smoke wagons run from nail skins. Then hammers strike just like a railroad spike. It's over before it begins. It's over before it begins. It's over. It begins.
All right, here we are, episode 59. Tonight we have Reign of Fire, which is a band out of two locations, which is really cool. They're out of Las Vegas and out of Bradenton, Florida. Tonight we have Joe Boo with us, vocals. How you doing tonight?
Great. How's you doing, everybody?
Doing good. So we were talking off air, getting ready to launch this thing, and you said something very interesting, that you guys have not even ever been in the same room together, and that it's a file sharing project. Right. How does that work as far as for scheduling and getting? How's that work?
It's funny. This had actually come from a previous project. The drummer and I have known each other since we were kids, and we played together in the band Strychnine, which was a pretty well-known band in Chicago through the 90s. We had a lot of music that we'd written and semi-recorded, not in the best quality, so we decided to try and resurrect some of the project, right, and record the material, which was we were already familiar with. So it wasn't anything that required rehearsal. Right. So about 2 years into it, we lost our keyboardist to cancer. The guitarist moved back to Greece. He was a Greek national. So the project kind of fell apart. So I reached out to Rob Chrisman, who is the guitarist for Reign of Fire, and asked him if he'd be interested in working on our Strychnine material. And as he listened to it, the guitarist, Pete Zefkiles from Strychnine, was a little unorthodox. He's a different kind of guitarist, self-taught, where Rob is a very schooled musician. So Rob said, "Look, I'm really not getting it. I understand what he's playing. I just don't know that it's really me. I don't want to distort what he was trying to do." So I said, "Why don't you send me something of yours?" And so it was a first trial balloon for all of us at writing and recording from scratch with this process. So he sent me a piece, and he'd recorded the guitar to click track and to a drum machine. But he had it already fully orchestrated. So the song was written, the guitar part at least was written. Right. So I just wrote lyrics and melody to it and background vocals. And then we sent it to my guitarist and bass player, or my drummer and bass player, Pete Bartolome, who's the drummer, and Jim Davidge, the bass player. And each wrote their individual parts. And Pete does all of our mixing and mastering. He's our sound engineer. So he put it all together. So from there, we just continued along the same reasoning. And even though they all live in the same place, Pete and Jim know each other. They've known each other for a while, played in other bands. Rob and I played in a band together about 30 years ago. And even though these guys live within 15 miles of each other, because of schedules, it's really tough for them to even consider getting together. So they've done Jam Kazam. What's interesting is this entire process is done just through file sharing. Right.
Wow. So that's a lot to unpack there. So you have to have four guys that understand recording with a DAW. Right. In order for this to work, everybody's got to be able to self-record their parts and and ship them over. Are you guys putting them into a online storage such as a Dropbox or Google Drive?
Until recently, everything was Dropbox shared. Yeah. But the bass player Jim is he's a computer guy. Yeah. So he's actually got a server at home. Oh wow. So he's created a Dropbox kind of replicant for us to use. So now we can just share all of our files without concern as to the size of the files or how much total storage we're using up. But Dropbox was an invaluable resource for us for the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 53, and I remember when you couldn't send an email that was over 3 megabyte. Or you couldn't. You just dealing with larger files. And I wouldn't even think to say MP3 that's 24 meg is a big file at this point. But that cloud storage solution was a big step
gigantic
to allow this kind of thing to happen.
In the past, what we would have had to have done would have been to ship CDs back and forth.
Oh,
so it
boy.
would have been really time consuming.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah, we're all in our late 50s. I'll be 59 in a month.
Right.
And the rest of the band, we're all relatively the same age. So yeah, I mean, I can remember in the past, this would have been an impossibility.
Right.
So thank God for, cloud storage and the ability to file share, and these, companies like WeTransfer and Dropbox that make it possible for even large files like waves to be transferred.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Are you sending waves or just high quality MP3s?
We are.
Yeah. Waves.
Yeah, we're doing everything in wave.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when it comes to for instance, we've got a fairly decent number of radio stations that are playing our material, but it's all online.
Right.
So the internet radio world is pretty much dedicated to MP3 because it's smaller codec, so they can use smaller files. It's possible for them to do it more easily.
Yeah.
And then it makes it easy for us to send them files, because otherwise we'd have to do the same thing, file share with Dropbox so they could get waves.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, MP3 that's like a 192 bit rate sounds pretty good.
It really does. And I think that unless you're a pro, the discerning ear is not going to be able to tell the difference in quality.
Yeah, no, just the consumer of music, the average.
Right.
I mean, if it's good enough for me, I'm pretty strict about my audio. It's
Right.
It's going to be fine.
You and me both.
Yeah. So is everybody on the same DAW? Does everybody use the same, Logic or Ableton or Pro Tools or?
Three of us are. Rob still uses a Korg D3200, which is a great machine. I used to have one myself. And so he's been recording to that, and he's soon going to convert so that we're all using Cakewalk Sonar. So the three of us, Jim, Pete, and I, have been using Sonar for years.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I purchased it right when they went bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
So I had to return it. I bought, because you didn't actually get like a CD or anything. All you got was a key code.
Right.
So I bought it at Sam Ash, went home to download it because we were going to be using it for these projects, and I couldn't get it. So I contacted Gibson, and they said, no, we shut it down about 3 weeks ago, and you'll have to take that box back and return. I said, there's a no software policy, no returns of software policy.
Right.
And they said, look, you're gonna get your money back. And it turned out to be beneficial, because then BandLab bought it and they made it free.
Wow.
So, and they continue to update it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because you would have lost all updates if
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing would have happened there. Man, I hate updates. I just was.
Yeah, I do too.
I was just.
I'm fine with the previous version.
Yeah, I'm fighting with. I went to download a plugin for Final Cut Pro, which is what I use to edit the show with. And I was like, man, I was all excited to get this plugin. I was like, yeah, all right, this does exactly what I want it to do. Buy it, and it says not supported with your operating system. You have to have such and such. I was like. But I'm dealing with the same thing. I'm a Pro Tools guy, and I'm starting to run into problems where all of the new plugins are 64-bit. I'm running a 32-bit.
32,
and it's time, I guess, to put the workhorse away and got
to upgrade.
Yeah, and do the upgrade. But
I'd recorded an album with the band 7 Months. I sang with them from 99 to 2003. And we did both albums. They did a second album without me. I damaged my vocal cords. But we'd done everything with Pro Tools, and that is the industry standard. It's amazing what you can do with Pro Tools.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's so simple.
Yeah. It's simple once you learn all the shortcuts and see what works for you.
Right.
So let's talk about your start. So you're lead vocalist. Are you doing playing any instruments, or doing all?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. All I do is vocals. I do all of our vocals. So I do all our background harmonies, and we do a lot of. We'll do whether it's goth chants, or we try to do a lot of things that are based on ancient melodies. So current song we're doing is it's Call of Vikings, and it's very much a medieval melody. The next one is a Celtic melody. Previous one that you'll be playing, Desert Caravan, is a Middle Eastern one.
Yeah.
So we try to apply a lot of that to the music that we write. So I try to do kind of era or music specific chants or background vocal melodies that are applicable. So that's solely my duty. Rob kind of starts us all off. He writes the orchestration, lays down everything as a template. We on occasion have modified it, but for the most part, he's a pretty sharp guy when it comes to writing.
Right.
So we start with his template in guitar. Pete, the drummer, and Jim, the bass player, start building their parts. And they'll do something fairly simple until my melodies are done, because then we want to make sure that we can marry the melodies of the rhythm section to my vocal melodies.
Right.
And then we embellish on it. So it goes through multiple generations. It goes maybe through 5, 10 iterations of the songs.
Yeah.
So it's a process. It's a long process. In the 2.5 years we've been together, we're just about to release our 6th song.
Right.
So we're not in a horse race to get this done.
Right. Well, that's the one of the first things that I noticed about the band when you sent the stuff over was it's right up my alley too, because I've got some songs that have like an Arabic kind of a theme. I mean, the band that I'm in that I created during COVID is called Giza Is Gone, so you have to play some Egyptian runs there, so I did notice that I'd really like to hear the Viking song, to be honest. If it's at any point that's listenable, after the show. But yeah, Jam Kazam. You mentioned Jam Kazam.
Yeah.
I tried that, I think, early on in COVID 2020 to try to get with my friends that are all over the place. Did you guys have any success using that thing?
With just the 3 musicians, they still had some buffering issues, but they were able to practice. And for all 3 of them, they have relatively powerful computers, but they were really pushing it. There was no way I could have jumped in with them.
Right.
Because with 4 of us, it would have slowed down. We would have had so much lag, we couldn't have done it.
Right. The latency was the issue when I was messing around with it. And
and that's what these guys ran into. They were just barely able to accomplish it. So for us, it isn't really so much a rehearsal tool as it is a writing tool.
Right.
So if they get together and kind of brainstorm about some ideas on how they want to alter either the rhythm section or change how we're going to do an ending or an intro, or try to make sure that everything works together, that gives them the opportunity to just share notes with each other live, rather than, hey, I'm going to send you a recording of what I think you should do, kind of thing.
Right.
It's just easier to do it that way.
Yeah.
Ideally, they should all get together, but since they live close to each other, but schedules are brutal.
Yeah. Well, is there any plan at some point for you to fly out to Vegas and
Yeah, there is. This is a concept album, and it's built around the idea of a soldier who gets wounded in the very first song, "Rain of Fire."
Yeah.
And he's unconscious, and he's trapped somewhere between insanity and death, and he's experiencing past lives and deaths, and that's what each of the songs is a past life.
Okay.
So once we complete the album, we'll do some vignettes to connect some of the songs. So Rob will do some additional musical pieces, and I'll do either some spoken word or some melody that kind of marries to either the choruses of one song or part of another song. And it'll continue with the story and help to explain more of the storyline. Once the album's completed and packaged, then I'll probably go out there and we'll try to do some things in the Vegas area and see if we can expand from there.
Right. That's awesome. Do any of you guys have military backgrounds, or how did the storyline pop up? We
don't. I've got tons of military in my family. I've got a little brother who served in Iraq. He was there for 2 tours. Has suffered PTSD. Yeah. I'm a fireman here in Sarasota, Florida, and I work with a lot of military guys.
Sure.
So, and I'm exposed to that a lot. So it's either guys I work with or guys that even we run on calls. PTSD is very real experience for them.
Yeah.
And understanding that trauma was some of the impetus for me to kind of develop this as the concept.
Yeah.
And the very first song, "Rain of Fire," it's about kind of dragons of old and modern warfare and kind of the plague against mankind that both are or were.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where the idea developed. But all right, if this is our starting point for the storyline, this is going to be where I'm going to kind of establish our protagonist, his initial entry into the storyline, and so forth.
Wow. Yeah, it's very well thought out.
Thank you.
It's really cool to see that you guys are pulling it off. Let's check out Desert Caravan. Where is this song in the story?
This is about the midway point of the album. So it'd be the 5th song.
Oh, okay.
We've got another song that may interlude between this and another, but where it stands right now, it's fifth song in the album.
Okay. Well, we're gonna listen tonight to Desert Caravan and Voices. Should we do them? Is Voices before Desert Caravan?
It is, but in the context of the story, they could be played out of order.
Awesome.
Because again, this is his experience is past lives, and they don't follow a chronology or an exact timeline. He's kind of bouncing around in time.
Okay. Well, let's check it out. Desert Caravan from Rain of Fire.
Awesome.
fire burning within.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. There's a lot going on there, definitely. All the way down to the intricacies of there's a triangle and like chimes in the beginning of it that are panning right and left and all over the place. And that was really cool. And the other thing that I thought was interesting on that track is that the rhythm guitar predominantly throughout the whole song was acoustic, and with a song like that, one could expect big crunchy bar chords, coming in. So that they kind of gave it a flavor that was different, that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, Rob's a pretty brilliant writer, and he thinks three-dimensionally.
Yeah.
He'll lay down, like that was originally sent to all of us in acoustic form.
Right.
So it gave me a chance to kind of focus more on the deeper tones of my vocals and kind of build the verse and pre-choruses around that intonation.
Yeah.
And then once he put in electric guitars, it gave me a chance to focus more on kind of a stargazer type of rainbow ending where it kind of soared and it became more epic.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun for us to write. And because we stretch things out a little bit, it's not an accelerated timeline, so we're not in a hurry to get it done.
Right.
We can kind of pick it apart. We spend more time with the songs. And so it gives us a little bit more time to really add dimensions to them.
Yeah. And who was playing keyboards on that?
That's also Rob. Rob plays keys, synth, and guitar.
Okay. Gotcha.
He's that's why I said he's a pretty prolific writer in terms of adding dimensionality to the songs.
Sure.
He doesn't just think about, all right, I want to have a shredding guitar solo. He wants to make it really layered and beautiful tapestry. Yeah.
There's the one thing that I would say that I would want more. You guys, when you're making a song, it's ingredients to your liking for bread or cake. But man, I'd like to have that lead vocal a bit more out in my in my face. Because you're killing it. I mean, you're
thanks, man.
You're singing some really cool lines there, and that's the only criticism I would have is, man, get more me is what I'd be saying if I was you.
As a musician, you understand how it is. Everybody's fighting for position, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So having been accustomed to that, and I've been in this for 40 years.
Yeah.
Just like you say, I'd love to be a little bit more out front.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to steal too much of the stage. And I have so much respect for all these guys. I don't want to make sure that it's kind of even distribution. But right at the end of the day, you're right. It still has to be about what's best for the song.
Yeah.
So, and this is a process. Because we're doing everything in house.
Yeah.
It's not as professionally produced.
Yeah.
But we kind of like it because it gives us a chance to really kind of put our own indelible mark on the songs.
Yeah. And you're right. At this point, we've all been doing this for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. And me back in the day would have been, scratching and clawing, man, more me. I'm too low in the mix. Come on, fighting for it. And now it's just, we have a little bit different situation where we have a producer who is the referee in the ring, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, everybody just agrees that, okay, well, he's going to make the final call.
He's got final say.
Yeah.
And I think that's always sound for any band, just so you can kind of keep the egos at the door.
Yeah.
Let somebody who's a pro at producing really make those decisions for you, so you don't not at each other's throats when the product comes out and say, hey man, I can't hear myself enough.
Right. Yeah. Well, the other thing you can do is, so that those boundaries don't get crossed is just stem out your parts and send it out for mixing and mastering, and try one song that way and say, was it better? Was it worth it?
Right.
These days, if it's $300-400, I don't mind chipping $100 on a song. Come on,
right?
But no, that's some really cool stuff. You mentioned 40 years. I haven't asked this question on the podcast since like one of the first couple episodes, but do you remember your first band and your first band name, and what was your first gig?
I do. The first band was Judgment Day, and it was in high school, and we were pretty much just playing parties and stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, then doing some gigging locally when I got into college, and battled at bands when I was in college.
Sure.
So yeah. I distinctly remember all of those firsts, all those early days, and they were a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you play golf?
A little bit. I also have a personal training business.
Okay.
So I teach an awful lot of like tennis players and golfers
Sure.
How to exercise to improve their games.
Yeah.
So but because I have two jobs and I work with the band, it makes it hard to golf. So I don't golf very often, and I'm a hack.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say the correlation between your first band and, the first battle of the bands and that kind of thing is, it's kind of like when you play golf and you go out for 18 holes, you suck for 17 of them, but that second shot on number 18, you hit a 3-wood onto the green from 190 out, and you're like, I'm coming back again.
Right.
It's that.
Right. I'm king of the world.
Yeah, I'm king
of the world.
I can do this.
Yep.
So what do some of the other guys do? You said one guy's a computer guy.
Right. Jim works as IT tech and networking. Pete is a service manager for a car dealership.
Gotcha.
So he has probably 20, 25 mechanics that work under him. Rob's a teacher. He also works as a coach for sports. He was a football coach and a powerlifting coach.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we've got some diverse backgrounds and experience. Rob used to be a glazer. He owned a glass company back in Illinois, and had run into a really, really bad customer who kind of put him on his heels.
Oh, wow.
And forced him to close shop. So he decided to move out to Vegas and call it quits with the business. So he's been out there for a couple of years teaching.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it only takes one bad customer, especially these days in social media.
Yeah.
It's,
right.
It's pretty crazy.
Rob and I played together about 30 years ago in a band called Geneva. And so it was something we always wanted to do again. We always wanted to kind of put the band back together.
Sure.
And so each of us, we all worked in other bands over the years. And Pete and I played together on and off all of our lives.
Wow.
When I left Chicago 25 years ago, Pete continued with Jim. That's how he met Jim. And they worked on a couple bands in the Chicagoland area. So we've all been connected in our past. So that's, it was great for us all to kind of come back together, each with an individual connection that, made sense to make this whole thing come together to make real fun.
Plus, it's really cool. Like my drummer in Hope's Anchor occasionally gets back together with his band from the 90s via the internet, and write and record. That you're not only bringing back old friendships, but you're bringing back I would hope to say more experience doing this thing. So it's not just you're not showing up playing at the level that you were 40 years ago or 35 or 25 years ago. Right. You've gained some knowledge on how to use the recording equipment, all that kind of stuff. That's the part mostly I'm impressed with, is that everybody's got that part figured out. Yeah. And figured out how to record their part of their instrument part of the songs. Drums. Is he using like Roland kit? Is he recording? Okay, so he's recording electronic kit.
So he's doing electronic. He's got an acoustic kit as well, but the electronics are just so much easier because after the fact, you can apply whatever drum kit you want to it. Yep. It's easier to make corrections. It's easier to shape the sound, because with an acoustic kit, once it's done, it's done. Yep. There's only so much you can do in terms of modifying the sound of it. Yep. So if you don't have a good crack on a snare, or you got what you got. Yeah. And at least with digital, you can make corrections.
Yeah. And more than that, you might be three quarters of the way through a song and realize, that snare is just not cutting like it should. Right. All right. Switch it to one of your other 65 snares.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. You can go with whatever kit you want. Yeah. Whatever drums, whatever cymbals, whatever anything. Yeah. So early on, we focused on recording acoustically, but now it's all digital.
Yeah. That's where we're at, Yeah. And, there's going to be a lot of purists that are that are, you have to record the acoustic drums and all that kind of stuff. Man, yes, you could rent a recording studio and go in and retrack all the drums. Or
I think that's, like you said, and that is the critical difference.
Yeah.
If you're doing this on your own,
Yeah.
without having the expense associated with going into a studio, the only way to go is with a digital kit, with an electronic kit, because otherwise you're burning through so much money trying to get exactly what you want. And it all starts with the drums.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a solid drum track, then you're done.
Yeah. Drums, bass, rhythm sections. I mean, it's all equally important. I mean, it has to all be right.
So much of the stuff, when I did an album with 7 months, we went into the studio solely for the sake of recording drums.
Right.
Everything else we did at the guitarist, he was a sound engineer by trade. So we did everything else at his apartment.
Right.
So we just, we soundproofed his bathroom, and I did vocals in there, and he did his guitar in there. Bass did, he did the bass parts in there. Bass player did, and the keyboardist played, direct. So it was pretty easy, but the drums had to be done in the studio because it was really kind of the only way.
Yeah.
24, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of pre-production of songs here in this studio, and I've got an electric kit. I play a Kemper, so it's direct. The bass is going direct. When we have rehearsals, it's essentially silent. All you hear is
right.
Right. Except for the vocalist. I mean, obviously that's going to be open, but like I don't even turn the PA speakers on or anything. It's just a closed room. There's never feedback.
That's great.
And it can be as quiet or as loud as you have your in-ears. Do you guys,
right.
Well, I guess in-ears don't matter in your case because you're not in the same rooms together, but
right.
Have you used in-ears in the past? I'm a big advocate.
I have.
So I like to pump the tires on in-ears.
Yeah. I used them in the past for live performance. I think they're so much better than using floor monitors.
Oh, yeah.
And then, for rehearsals, it actually, unfortunately, our live rehearsals with an acoustic kit, with everybody playing live, so nothing was in headphones. Part of what contributed to me tearing the vocal cord in 7 months back in 2003.
Yeah, and my tinnitus, it contributed to that too. Yeah, and that's another thing. If you are rehearsing in a room like that, in-ears will help you hear but it'll also help protect your hearing from from other things.
Yeah.
So use in-ears. That's my that's my pitch.
The other sound advice.
Yeah, the other thing that in-ears do is you can hear everything.
Yeah.
Crystal clear. So that means everything good, and that means everything mistake-wise. And the more you rehearse with them, being able to hear everything,
better you're going to be.
Oh, your live show is just like, boom, sounds like the record.
Kill it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So the next song is Voices. And what can you tell us about this track?
Voices was actually written by Rob. It was a song he wrote when he was probably 18 or 19. So this is going back 35 years ago.
Right.
So the entire guitar piece, note for note, is what he wrote when he was about 18 or 19 years old. Wow. So it shows you how timeless this piece is.
Yeah.
It's an incredible song. And Rob suggested to me, he said, hey, do you want to do something with, it was actually called Cries in the Wind. Do you want to try and work this into what we're doing? And I said, absolutely, because I always loved the song.
Right.
It was a song that we did when we played together 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So I rewrote the melody just to kind of integrate it into the concept and make sure that it was a little bit more modern sounding, but most importantly, so that the storyline fit. So the melody and the lyrics have changed, but guitar note for note is exactly what Rob wrote. And it's really impressive when you hear the solo, when you hear the coda. So as he outros out of the song, we actually doubled the length of it because we liked it so much.
Right.
But the solo is killer, and the exit is incredible too.
Now, is this him playing 18 years ago, or is this modern him playing?
He re-recorded it.
Yeah, okay.
He re-recorded it. Yeah, it's a full re-recording.
Yeah.
But what was written is exactly the same.
Cool. All right, well, let's check it out. Voices from Rain of Fire. Yeah, that's so cool to have like if I had to do all over again, I think I'd want to be a keyboardist because they have so many sounds and
You're not kidding.
gadgets, and I mean I don't know what that the like tubular bells sound that he had at the very end was, but
Right.
sounds of wind and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, another great track. The guitar on that. Do you happen to know what he plays? What type of guitars?
Yeah, Paul Reed. He has a couple. Paul Reed Smith. He plays Gibson. Yeah, he's got a pretty sizable collection.
Yeah,
I think he played Paul Reed Smith on that one.
yeah. It sounded like he had 24 frets. There were a couple of notes. He sounded like he was all the way up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's shredding on that one for sure.
Yeah.
Is he using plugins for his amp sounds, or is he, miking cabinets still and all that kind of stuff? You happen to know?
He does plug it. He goes directly into the Korg D3200, and I'm pretty sure he's using pedals.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what his full setup is.
Yeah.
He had given me a rundown months ago,
Right.
and I don't have the list with me now, but he still keeps it relatively basic.
Yeah.
He's not using multiple processors. I think he's got a single processor that he uses.
Yeah. Is you said that device a couple of times. What is it? Korg what? D300?
D3200.
What is-
It's a recording device, and it's probably, Korg put it out probably 20, 25 years ago.
Wow.
It's a 32-track recording device, and it's got an internal CDRW on it. It's
Right.
got a tiny little LED screen for control,
Wow.
and a little toggle switch for a little joystick
Right.
for controlling it. So it's definitely still relatively primitive.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was state of the art. It was kind of like when Roland was putting out all of their different, enclosed box
Right.
recording media.
Yeah.
So it's along the same lines.
So I guess my question is how, okay, say for example, say Voices was at 96 BPM on the grid of a DAW.
Yeah.
He loads them into that device. Is he able to set the BPM clock?
Yeah, he's able to do a click track with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So when he records it, he's recording it to a click track and to a basic drum machine.
Right.
So we've still got just a very simple rhythm that's just keeping time for him.
Right.
And when he sends us everything, he'll send two versions. He'll send it with the click and with the drum machine, so we can hear the context of the rhythm, so we know beats per minute what he's doing.
Right.
And then he sends a clean version with just guitar track that can be imported into our DAWs.
Right.
And then we're recording just to that.
Right. Onto your, whatever BPM it is.
Yep. Exactly.
And it all syncs up, no problem. Going back
Yeah,
into the D23,632.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
Yeah. I think is he a computer guy at all? I mean, if he can run that thing, he can run a computer.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it's always been his intention.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty nice. I think it's a Dell, like the XPS, whatever their kind of high speed, high powered desktop computer is. He's got it. He just hasn't started the conversion yet, and it's been kind of the plan in between songs, these next two songs, for him to implement that. So he'll probably be moving to Sonar on the next song that we complete.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting.
It simplifies things for us, but so far we've been able to do it without any hiccups.
Yeah. Well, I think, once he gets involved into the using a DAW, and then realizing, plugins. I don't imagine that he's got plugins for this thing. He probably has some outboard gear that he's
exactly.
using.
It's outboard stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, once he gets in on the grid, he'll never go back. But I understand.
Never the same.
I understand if he has hesitancy, because if he's been using this thing for more than 5 years, more than 10 years.
Yeah, you're pretty dialed in.
Well, you're also, all of your catalog is in that format.
Is in it.
So
exactly.
He's probably thinking, oh man, I gotta
start all over.
I gotta dump out the stems to make sessions into the, so I could see where that would be a little bit of a hesitant, reaction for sure.
Right.
So then, I guess we have you here. So what was your vocal training or background? What got you started? How did you know you were a singer as a kid?
I had a cousin when I was a kid. I'm the oldest of four boys. So my parents were young parents. They had me when they were 21.
Right.
And so four of us by the time they were 25. They dumped us off at my aunt and uncle's all the time. So we'd spend weekends at my aunt and uncle's. I had a cousin who was about 10 years older than me. He was a drummer in a local band. He was just playing clubs,
Right.
playing parties. But they used to rehearse in the basement. And this is back in Chicago. So I was always getting in the way.
Yeah.
Because I loved it.
Yeah.
And this is back in the late 60s, early 70s. So they're playing Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Three Dog Night, all the stuff, Jimi Hendrix, all the stuff that's like kind of great foundational hard rock. And so I was listening to that when I was a little kid.
Right.
And I always wanted to be a singer. So he gave me my first mic when I was 13 years old. And it was just one of his old drum kit mics. So it was a garbage mic,
Right.
but it got me started. And I always wanted to be a singer. And so that's like, started with Judgment Day in high school, started with some buddies from high school. And it was always on my mind as a child, always on my mind as a teenager. And I knew I was never going to want to do anything other than this.
Yeah. And until you realize, I got to have a day job too.
Exactly.
To do this. I think,
the day job was for a long time was only to supplement this, to make sure I could keep doing this.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally, that's,
I didn't
how you
I didn't
got
get
the
serious
extra
about
mic cables aren't cheap.
right. Everything, PA equipment, you name it.
Yeah.
Back in Chicago, it was all my PA equipment. I had to have everything. So
Right.
thousands and thousands of dollars ranging from, playing a small venue to playing big festivals. So I had everything that we needed.
Right.
And, until I was probably in my late 30s, I didn't even give a career really any credence. I was focused mostly on just supplementing my music career.
Yeah, that's very similar here. It just the one advice that my brother ever did give me that was good and sound was, hey, play all you want, but don't always have a day job.
Right.
Always have a day job, and that was sound advice because I remember. I was just talking about this with somebody, a buddy of mine the other day. It's like, man, I remember where I was nervous about breaking strings on my guitar because, man, back then the packs were...
You have the money to replace them.
Yeah, packs were maybe $3 a pack or something. Maybe now they're $6. And, I was like, man, I don't want to, break a string because I don't get paid for 2 weeks. And, they got to keep the lights on.
I always approached this realistically too. I loved it. It was something I always wanted to do, but I knew that the chances of making a living at it were pretty slim.
Yeah.
You can make a modest living and, I could live like in poverty.
Yeah.
And so I went to college knowing that, look, I'm going to play music, but I'm going to have a day job and I'll play music at night. I'll play music on the weekends. I'll do local touring. And that's what Strychnine did. We played kind of quad state area, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, and Michigan. So we focused kind of on the Midwest. When I went out to LA, we kind of did the same thing all up and down the coast. But, I knew, look, it's chances of this becoming my primary source of income are pretty slim.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do it, enjoy it, maintain the love for it, not grow to hate it because I'm poor and spent half my life or 3/4 of my life chasing a dream that didn't pay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say also that, it took me to my mid 30s to go, you know what? We're not getting a record deal. Let's just continue doing this because we have to, feed that muse to write new stuff and that kind of thing. And
exactly.
And I actually had more peace with it once I had that realization that, hey, if you're not signed by now, it's not going to happen.
It's funny you say that. It's been the exact same experience.
Yeah.
I chased the dream for a good, 15 to 20 years. And when I finally accepted that, look, this is just going to be a hobby, I was so much happier with the process. So now I write from, more, it's definitely it's a more soulful writing process instead of trying to chase something relatively formulaic and trying to, grab an industry guy's ear and stay within the 3 to 3.5 minute parameters of writing a song. Now, hey, whatever it takes, man. If we want to write a 7-minute song, we're writing a 7-minute song.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part for me too, is, it's
liberating.
Yeah. When I start to write something, doesn't matter if I go over 3:15, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. In fact, I want to go over that. I'm not even to the bridge by 3:15. You know?
Right.
Why?
As you heard in both of those songs,
Yeah.
The first verse didn't start until a minute in. You know?
Yeah.
So we're good with that.
Yeah. Who cares? Let's talk about graphics and video, because that was another thing that I noticed when you sent stuff over. I'm looking at your Facebook page right here, and there's a killer, dragon with flames all over the place on it. Who's doing the graphics and that kind of stuff?
That was actually a Vecteezy photograph artwork from them, which is a free downloadable. You just have to identify them everywhere as being, the source of it.
Yeah.
Jim had done some early stuff for us that we moved away from. I do all the video though. So all the video stuff that we've got, I do all of that. So I have the guys send me green screen film, and I've got memberships to a couple different websites that provide stock video. So I build all of our video out of stock video.
Yeah. That's kind of, you're limited to that since you're not in the same location at this point, but
right.
But yeah, that's an interesting way to do, have your guys perform in front of the green screen, and then, and then I can compile it.
Yeah. Yeah. So on some of the songs, I have us completely separated, and then some of them I've been able to put us into the same scene. So it almost looks like we're on stage together.
Right.
The next video for Call of Vikings, that's the next song that's coming out. I've done a lot of us together. Tried to make it look as though the whole video itself is a big screen backdrop to us on stage, and then we're on stage, and it was fairly effective, considering this is kind of guerrilla video. I'm not looking to impress the world with my video skills, but I want to have a medium where the story can be told a little bit more elaborately and in more detail.
Yeah, it's video is definitely the way to do that. Yeah. But again, more time, just editing these podcasts, they went from being, probably a 30-minute process, because I have a template, throw it in, fix this, fix that, ready, launch, to now I'm like, you know what? I need a video bumper at the beginning. I need a splash video or music for the guests that we're going to be talking about. And then, I need an outro one. So now it's like, 2.5 hours worth of editing per episode.
Right.
So what are you using for your video editing software?
I use Power Director. So it's pretty simple, but it's got all the tools that I need in it. And kind of like we were talking about Rob with his Korg D3200. Yeah. It's what I've been using for several years now. So I'm really dialed into it. There are a lot of other much better video format softwares that I can use, but I'm so used to this now. Mm-hmm. It's pretty simple. And so I've streamlined the process so I can do it a lot faster than I used to.
Yeah. And it has all the capabilities of sending out MOVs or MP4s.
Yep.
Those types of things.
I can select what
codec,
like coding I want to use. And so it's pretty broad. So I like that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And it sounds like you're using a PC based computer.
Yep.
Yeah. I got my first Mac in 2012. I was always a PC guy, and the computers were, very old and slow on the PC side back then. And I would always be waiting for audio renderings and stuff. I'm like, man. And so I got a Mac, and it's just like boom, 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 boom. Everything was quicker and no crashing and stuff.
Right.
So I'm one of those, once you go Mac, you never go back guys.
Never go back. And that's my fear too.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason I've stayed PC based is because all of us are using Sonar, which is PC only. And as much as I'd like to shift to a Mac, everybody I know who uses them, they rave about them.
Yeah.
It's just so much faster, so much more reliable. Yeah. They don't end up becoming antiquated in 2 years, so you can get a good 6 or 7 year lifespan out of it before it's slowed down. But I'm kind of stuck with what I've got.
Yeah. They're also, $4,000,
right. They're crazy expensive.
And that's probably where that's probably what hinders a lot of people also from switching over. Yep. But I mean, that's a mid 2012 that I'm using, and so we're looking at
12-year-old machine.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But I am running into issues now where heck, my Pro Tools, I can't even update my operating system on the Mac because the Pro Tools won't accept it. So I can either buy more Pro Tools or So I'm about to go all out and get just get a rocket ship with the newest Pro Tools and say,
and you'll get the same life out of it. You'll get another 12 years out of it. So it's worth it.
Right. And it'll
probably, when you're dealing with PC, you may be replacing 3 times as often as you did that Mac, and it costs a third. So it's a wash.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah. So you said the Vikings track, that's the one that's in the can right now that you guys are working on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's probably 3 or 4 days away from, hopefully 3 or 4 days away from being completed.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to retrack the choruses. I want to redo the choruses. Just a few things about it that needed to change. The drummer and I talked at length about some modifications to it about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a melody change to the chorus. And so I've done a first run. I'm going to do a second run, and hopefully that'll be it. The rest of the song is already pretty much in the can. It's already ready to go.
Nice.
So once I complete this, then it's just, getting everything dialed in and doing a final mix and mastering.
Well, I definitely want to hear that track. So when you guys do get it done, email it to me so I can check it
Absolutely.
out.
Absolutely.
And then another thing you just brought up there that is interesting is since you guys are apart and you're talking about detailed parts, intricate parts of a song, what are those conversations like, and do you do them over a video conferencing call to where you can see each other? We've
got we use Google Class. We can use Google Classroom, and we use these same types of resources. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it is just phone call. And if somebody's got an idea, they may just go one-on-one in a conversation.
Right.
We're fairly. I don't want to say we're devoid of ego because it's impossible to be.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when the drummer and I had this conversation, I was a little heated about it because I was like, you got to be kidding me. You've had this chorus for 5 months and now you're making suggestions on changes to it. But at the end of the day, like it is for all of us, it's really about putting out the best song that you can, the best product you can. So while it's hard to stomach the idea of, hey, listen, I think you can do better than this. Right. Nobody wants to hear that.
Right.
Everybody wants to think that what they did was as good as it's going to get. Sometimes that's tough to deal with. And because I've known Pete since we were 6 years old,
right.
He's probably the one person who can have that conversation with me, and I'm not going to get really heated over it.
Right.
But really, at the end of the day, it's got to be about, all right, what's going to be best for the song, and what's going to be best for this overall concept, and trying to, make this whole thing work, and give the listener the best experience that they can have.
Yeah. Do you like we do when talking drums over the phone? Say, just give me something like a dooga pop pop da, give me you have to talk in drums.
Right.
Give me a turn signal, bigger turn signal there that something's about to happen.
Go from quads to triplets. Let's change the timing on this. Yeah. So a lot of it is we a long time ago decided to manifest this approach that each individual guy's part is his own. So he's kind of got veto power when it really comes down to it. If somebody feels strongly about their part, because again, we're not tied to a label. We don't have someone who's overseeing everything we're doing. As much as this is about putting out the best quality product, each guy has to feel good about what he did. Yeah. And if a guy says, look, man, I like what it did, I want to stick with it.
Yeah.
Then we're going to let it stand.
Yeah.
Unless something's glaring, and then we'll probably have a meeting and all of us, will brainstorm over it and say, look, man, can you just try this and see how it sounds? For the most part, all of us are pretty open to that. We haven't had a single issue in, the 2.5 years we've been together where somebody was kind of a dick about it.
Right.
Everybody has always been pretty open-minded because we all know each other. We've all been playing for a long enough time that we're not, we're not teenagers letting our, thin skin get the best of us.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how bands break up.
Right.
Somebody can't take a,
right. I'm going to take my microphone and go.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a guy walk out, take his toys and go home. Literally. That's that's pretty cool that you guys can, you're able to do this. Are those guys, are they playing live at all in any other bands in Vegas while they're out there, or?
On occasion, Pete will end up sitting in with some guys. He's had a couple guys out there ask him to play. He's played the House of Blues for a few shows, and it's just, he's got all of us have an awful lot of music connection because we've been playing for so long.
Right.
I myself, I've got a couple other bands that I'm working with. I've got a project, another recording project that's file sharing. Some guys down in the Keys. I already did a single album with them. We're completing a second album.
Cool.
It's a band called Jobu and the Dog, and I've got a Facebook page for them too. We got another guy up in Chicago named Randy Nitch. He was the guitarist for Saint Tragedy. He left the band, so he and I have got 4 songs completed, and he's going in the studio tomorrow and Friday to do some more recording. So we're working on a project, and then a lot of in the community on Facebook, there are thousands of bands that we're connected to,
right?
And so I've made a lot of friends through that networking. So I'm working on a few songs with 3 other groups. So so even if we don't all do the live thing, we all have we're dabbling in some other things too, some other music.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy playing live, but it's getting tougher and tougher to even get gigs being an original artist, and so tribute bands are here and there and everywhere. So, and I'm kind of getting tired of moving gear.
That's what stopped me. That's what stopped me. I work for the fire department, so I'm on for a 24 hours, stint.
Right.
If I play a gig and I'm playing from 10 o'clock at night till 2 a.m, I do a load in, I do a load out. I'm not home and in bed until 5.
Right.
I've got to get up at 6 to go to the fire station and probably run all day and all night.
Right.
So I just can't do it. And I work a second job. I've got a personal training business. So even on the days when I'm not on with the fire department, I'm working another job. So sleep deprivation it got to be too much. I was playing in a live performance band about 12 years ago and finally called it quits. So I'll be 59 in March. And it's, as you get older, it's too much.
Yeah.
Too much to ask of your body.
Yeah. Well, I think I am going to be down in your neck of the woods in April.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, I'm going to Siesta Key.
I lived on Siesta, and Siesta's half an hour from me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Have you been there before?
Yeah, it's a typical annual trip.
Awesome.
But I enjoy going down there, and I'm so high strung and wired that to ask me to go and just sit in the sand and get sunburned, I'm like, can I go find a corner and go busking? So I actually played last year. I played at the daiquiri bar.
The daiquiri deck. Right,
the daiquiri deck. Just because I couldn't sit on the beach. And
drop me a line when you come down, man.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Maybe you find a good some good local act to go catch.
Yeah, that'd be cool. What is the scene like in Sarasota?
It's still an older community.
Yeah.
But because Siesta Key has become a hot spot for spring break, like you'll be down right in the midst of spring break.
Yeah.
Tons of young people, a lot of music. A lot of it is island music. So you get like trop rock and island music. A lot of it is single artists. And they've got, the drum machine playing along with them.
Yeah.
But it's interesting stuff because, see these one-man bands kind of pull off what they're able to pull off with triggers and, with the drum machine and everything else.
Yeah.
And looping and everything. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was down there last year. Was it last year? I think it was last year. And we went to this little restaurant bar type thing. Turtles Cove or something like that.
Yeah. I know where it's at.
And I ran into a lady who had to be mid 70s, and I walk in. She's on the patio of this place, and I walk in and I go, "What?" I look at her guitar, and she's got like a late 50s, early 60s Gibson that she's playing, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to sell that guitar?" I mean, just a vintage piece of artwork,
Yeah, right.
And she's just out there one-man banding it and doing her thing. And it's really cool. I had her on the podcast too after that.
Awesome.
It was interesting because I wanted to find out, what motivated her at that age to still want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and she says, well,
Chances are we'll be doing the same thing.
I know. That's the other reason I wanted to have her on. But you know, she says I still enjoy doing it, and
Yeah.
you know, it supplements my income.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's also a little kind of a get together for all of her little friends.
Sure.
You know, so
That's one of the things I like about down here.
Yeah.
Is if in retirement, if you wanted to still be an active musician, you can get afternoon gigs all day.
Right.
You know, instead of playing from 10 to 2.
Right.
And it all being, you know, you're a vampire.
Yep.
Everything's late night. Down here, you can play in the midday.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually. That, you know, but like you said, it's you know, the beach bar with the straw tiki thing
Exactly
has a small little stage, and and they're out there playing. I think the gigs should not be 4 hours slots.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, 10 to 2. That's the Smoky Bar back in the day. You know, it was ridiculous. You know,
that should be over.
Yeah. No, I do 90-minute shows, 60-minute shows, and
Smart.
It's a show. You know, you know, and we'll have an opening artist or two, and you know, you're there and you're done after 90 minutes. 90 minutes, no break of playing rock and roll. I'm done.
That's plenty.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
I'm
That's
done.
worth the price of admission.
Yeah.
You get more than your money's worth.
Well, man, I appreciate you reaching out to us, and
it's a pleasure being on with you.
Yeah, I enjoy this stuff, man. Just keep it going. I want to hear Vikings when you get it done. And
I will. I'll shoot it to you as soon as I got it done. I'll send an MP3 to you.
Yep, perfect. And then let everybody know where they can find Rain of Fire.
We've got a website. It's fairly simple. ROF for Rain of Fire. ROF.rocks. So no .com. It's just .rocks.
Gotcha.
We can be found on Facebook, just Rain of Fire Band. We're on X. We're on Reverb Nation. You can find us on YouTube, YouTube channel, Rain of Fire Band. Every streaming service, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Pandora, all of them.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, I appreciate it. Hang on the line here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
You're watching the Original Music Podcast.